lot to cover today, and I don't want this to take too long. And because this feels, I don't know, this feels more like a lecture than one that I've done in a long time, but I couldn't think of another way to do this. We're talking about emotional intelligence today. This is something that I think all of us can probably work on. It improves our ability to communicate well with, build good relationships with our team, but also like every aspect of your personal life that you could ever think of. So we're going to just jump into it, and I'm going to do my best today to cover sort of all the facets of emotional intelligence, almost like consider this your Blinkist, like super quick review of a couple really good books on emotional intelligence, kind of summarizing it down for you with some key points and takeaways and some stuff to ponder. So let's go. Our emotions are important tools for understanding and interacting with our environment. However, they are also flawed as a general rule, and they can lead us to make mistakes. And one such mistake occurs when we become overly emotional. In order to make sound judgments, we really need to think clearly. Like a juggler, our minds can handle only so many items at once. And when we're in a state of heightened emotion, our minds are bombarded with alarming thoughts and disturbing images. Thus, there is no room for rational thought, and our judgment is clouded. For example, when you're frightened, you might find yourself overreacting to situations, thinking they're more dangerous than they actually are. This is why when you're scared, you might mistake a sheet hanging out on the line as a ghost. Another mistake caused by our emotions is when we act suddenly before we have had a chance to judge the situation clearly. When information enters our brain, a fraction of it bypasses the region responsible for rational thought, the neocortex, and directly enters the emotional brain. If it perceives this information to be a threat to us, the emotional brain can trigger us to act suddenly without consulting our thinking brain. And this is why you might jump out of your skin if you're in a dark space, like maybe a dark forest, and you see a strange figure in the corner of your eye. The final way our emotions can lead us to act irrationally is when we are affected by obsolete emotional responses. Our emotional mind reacts to situations in the present based on our past experiences, even when the conditions have completely changed. For example, a boy who is physically bullied at school may grow up to be a super strong man, but still feel threatened by his former bully. So although emotions are important, they can take control of our minds and disrupt our rational thinking. Therefore, we require something that helps us to manage them effectively. So how can you use the power of your emotions without them overwhelming you? You need emotional intelligence, as it allows you to recognize and manage your feelings without being controlled by them. The first aspect of emotional intelligence is being able to recognize and name your feelings. This step is vital in being able to manage your emotions. Studies show that people who can't recognize their own feelings, like put words to them, are more prone to violent outbursts. Once you are able to recognize your emotions, you need to become aware of what causes them. Often, I would say most of the time, your feelings in a situation depend on how you think about it. For example, if a friend of yours passes you on the street and doesn't acknowledge you, you might immediately think that they're ignoring you on purpose. And this could make you upset or even angry. But if you stop and think why they failed to acknowledge you, you might find other reasons that leave you less upset. The friend might, for example, not have seen you because they were lost in thought and weren't concentrating on their surroundings. When you begin to recognize and manage your feelings, emotional intelligence can help you concentrate on achieving certain goals. And let's be honest, unless you live on an island, it's unlikely that you'll develop a happy life just by managing your own mind. Other people play a huge role in your existence, and only by managing your social interactions with them can you hope to live a fulfilled life. Once again, emotional intelligence is what helps you to achieve this. Emotional intelligence fosters good social interactions because it helps you put yourself in other people's shoes. Knowing how you'd feel in a certain situation helps you to gauge how others might feel in a similar environment. Your emotional intelligence also helps you discover the emotions of others by analyzing their nonverbal signs. This means you can judge a person's mood just by looking at cues like their facial expression or their body language. For example, if you see someone with a face as white as a sheet and their mouth wide open, you'll probably conclude that they are shocked. What's more, you'll probably identify such cues automatically without any real conscious effort. Because it allows you to empathize with others, emotional intelligence enables you to behave in a way which evokes favorable reactions from other people. For example, if you have a team member who's constantly making the same mistakes, you're going to need to tell her about this to get her to change. But you have to do it in the right way. If you hurt her feelings, she may become angry or defensive or start crying, and it is much less likely she's going to hear you and make the changes that you desire. If you empathize with her and imagine how she will feel, you can act in a way which makes her more willing to change. In general, people with emotional intelligence can develop social aptitudes such as the ability to teach others, to resolve conflicts, or manage teams of staff. And these aptitudes help them maintain relationships in a social environment. Basically, emotional intelligence helps you lead a fulfilled life. So, is it possible to boost your emotional intelligence? Well, of course it is. Yes, we can learn to do just about anything. And there are some exercises you can do to help to achieve this. If you want to enhance your self-awareness and self-management, which is a key component of emotional intelligence, you can practice using inner dialogues. These will assist you in identifying and naming your own feelings. For example, if your friend tells everyone but you about their marital problems, you might feel upset. But inner dialogue can help you resolve this. You should ask yourself, why am I hurt? Because my best friend confided their marital problems to everyone but me? Now that you've identified the feeling and the cause, you can dampen its power. You could instead tell yourself, well, I may feel left out, but it's possible that they didn't want to bother me because they knew I was busier than everyone else and had a lot on my plate already. In this way, you'll feel less upset. If you want to improve your empathy, you can try to mirror another person's body language. This is helpful because body language doesn't solely express emotion, it also evokes them. So for example, by mirroring another person's tense posture, you might induce tenseness in yourself. If you want to enhance your ability to self-motivate and think more positively, follow this advice. The way you explain your successes and failures has an impact on your ability to motivate yourself. To become self-motivated, start thinking like this. People who can convince themselves that failures are due to something they can change don't give up very easily. They continue to try because they believe that a successful outcome depends on their own actions. In contrast, those people who attribute a setback to some permanent personal deficit are likely to give up very soon. They are convinced that there is not much they can do about their success anyway. And if you want to be successful, you want to try to avoid this type of thought process. There are basically 4 foundations to emotional IQ or EQ, emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness, the ability to understand your own feelings and behaviors. We've talked about that a little bit. The second is self-management. Self-management is about keeping yourself in situations in which you know you'll be able to behave correctly. The third is social awareness. Once you know how to manage your behavior and understand your feelings, you'll know how to read the emotions of other people. You'll understand what makes people feel angry or sad or excited, and you'll be able to better read body language. The fourth and final element is relationship management. Understanding your own behavior and the behavior of other people around you enables you to build stronger relationships with the most important people in your life. For example, if you know that one of your team members gets upset when she's criticized, I mean, who doesn't? You'll know how to give feedback in a way that she'll respond more effectively. So here's a question for you. How well do you know yourself? You might know what sorts of things you like or dislike, but self-awareness is more than that. It's about deeply understanding your emotions so you don't become overwhelmed by them. It's important to understand why you feel the way you do, including when you're angry or annoyed. Being in a bad mood doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a bad day. Maybe you left your computer bag at home, or you spilled coffee all over your desk, or you had trouble getting one of your team members to stay on task. On days like this, you might start to feel negative about everything, and you might start to lash out at small things, which of course only makes things worse. When you find yourself in a bad mood, just remember, that such feelings pass. All feelings pass. Whatever has put you in a bad mood can't possibly be the end of the world, so why overreact? Don't lose sight of your self-awareness on good days either. We tend to rush into things head first when we're in a good mood. Imagine your favorite store is having some kind of sale with markdowns of 75%, and you want to go run in and buy everything that you see. But in that moment, your excitement overpowers your other emotions. You might forget to pause and ask yourself if you really need these things that you're buying, and your good mood might turn sour when you realize how much you just spent on your credit card. So check yourself and think twice when you get excited. Don't make rash decisions just because you're caught up in the moment. Remember, you should always be considering what the consequences of your actions might be. A lot of us find it so challenging to manage ourselves. We try to assert control. We often get sidetracked, especially if how we feel inside is pushing us to act differently. We also tend to give up if things start to get too rough or feel too hard, too yucky, any of those words. Good self-management, however, is crucial to having nice, high emotional intelligence. One useful tool when you're faced with a tough decision is to make an emotion versus reason list. This is taking both parts of you and using them. You're going to draw a table with 2 columns. In the first column is where you write down what your emotions are telling you to do. The second column is for what your logical reasoning brain is telling you what to do. This exercise can help you balance each side and keeps one from dominating the other one. So see which list has the stronger points. Are your emotions clouding your judgment? Are there any holes in your logic? Let's say you're faced with a decision about firing an employee. Maybe her work isn't up to par, but you really like her a lot as a person. This is a fantastic opportunity to make an emotion versus reason list. Another great way to start managing yourself better is to tell friends and family or someone about your goals. Your loved ones do an amazing job of helping to motivate you and keep you on track. If you tell other people what you want to accomplish, they're going to help to hold you accountable. And I've already taught you this. When you talk about your goals with other people, you are far more likely to stay committed and actually get it done. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a restaurant, some waiters always seem to know what everybody wants? They're the best waiters, right? They instinctively know if you want to be left alone, or if you want company or special attention. These people have a really high level of social intelligence. And to become more socially aware, there are 2 things you should consider. 1, pay attention to people's body language to get a sense of what they're feeling, and then plan your responses accordingly. Start with like a head to toe body language assessment. Check their eyes. They'll give away a lot. Too much blinking might indicate deception or being super uncomfortable, for example. Then move to the mouth. Is their smile sincere or is it fake, right? Only sincere smiles come across as truly sympathetic. Check their shoulders. Are they slouched? Are they tight, right? They can express self-confidence or even shyness. Once you've read the message in a person's body communicating, adapt yourself to it. If someone is angry, probably not a great idea to pester them with questions. You want to wait until they're in a better mood, a better place. Another thing you can do is make sure you always use someone's name. Doing so helps you come across as warm and trustworthy. There is lots of science on this. People's name is like their favorite word in the whole wide world. People who have high social awareness don't usually call people sir or ma'am or Mr. So-and-so. They make an effort to learn people's first names. So addressing a person by their first name immediately strengthens your relationship with them. And your ability to build strong relationships with people is a crucial part of emotional intelligence. So how can you build them and maintain them effectively? First, check your own body language. Make sure you aren't sending mixed signals to people. Your voice, your body, and your behavior convey a lot of information. So to avoid confusing other people, make sure that what your body is saying is clear, just like your words. It's frustrating and disorienting to other people if it's not making sense to them. Let's say you need to congratulate an employee at work. Say someone's done an amazing job and you want to say something, but you're super upset because you fought with your hubby that morning. If you mumble through your speech while frowning, your compliments are going to seem way less than sincere because your body language and your voice don't match your message. Another important key to building future relationships is to get feedback from people already in your life. Feedback is vital if you want to improve anything in any part of your life, but it can be really hard to receive. Just like our employees or team members can get defensive when we give them feedback, we can often feel the same. We can take it badly, or we can just completely ignore it, because who likes to be criticized, right? But if you can learn to take constructive criticism by reminding yourself that the person offering it to you is really just looking out for your best interests, you can use that feedback to improve yourself in so many ways. And just remember, if someone gives you feedback, thank them. Always show appreciation. It helps. So you can increase your level of emotional intelligence, or EQ, whatever you want to call it. You can focus on understanding your own emotions, controlling your own emotions and behaviors by using that internal dialogue that you can consciously control, and then build your relationships with people by paying attention to body language, addressing people in a personal way, balance your emotions with your rational thinking, and never stop trying to improve yourself through feedback. When you have high emotional intelligence, you don't just relate better to other people, you'll manage yourself way better too. Now, I know that was a lot, and I kind of plowed through it. If you want to dig deeper on this topic, let's say you don't think that you have great emotional intelligence. I would say I was one of those people for sure. I'm not like a super empath, and I just don't read people really well. So this I always found very fascinating. There are a couple great books. There's always good books. And one of my favorites is Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves. And you can get it on Amazon. You can also just like literally type emotional intelligence into Amazon or Google and find a plethora of titles if you want to dig into that. It's one of those soft skills, I like to call them, that has no downside. If you can increase your emotional intelligence, you're going to increase your ability to have good relationships with everyone in your world. And I can never think of where that would be a bad idea, really at all. I hope you guys are having a great week. I can't wait to see you next Wednesday. I don't know what the topic is yet, but I will shoot you an email when I know what that is, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.